Nitrogen applications are recommended at the time of seeding, and it's recommended that they're banded below the seed. It has been found to be detrimental if the seed and fertiliser are banded at the same width, so below or to the side is the recommended. There is some conjecture as to the need and the benefits of further N applications in its growing period. It has been found with some studies that if N is applied later, you tend to get more plants that lodge, and lodging can be an issue in flax crops. It also can turn the plants vegetative instead of creating more seed or better seed content. So that's something that we'll need to trial to find out whether just that single application at the time of seeding will be enough to get good yields. There's been some research done on the impact of trifluralin on flax crops. Flax germination and emergence can be affected detrimentally if trifluralin is used prior to seeding. In Australia, Treflan is registered for use on flax crops, but in Canada it's recommended that it's not actually used when you are going to plant flax. Disease susceptibility. Flax is susceptible to a number of diseases. One of those is a damping off disease caused by soil fungal pathogens such as pythiums and rhizoctones and fusariums, and this causes early seedling death upon emergence and stunted growth. We have seen some of this at all of our trial sites except for the Darken site. I spoke to Alex Smith at Koji Ag about this issue, and he has been fantastic with giving his time to discuss flax and to talk about the agronomic issues that we've been facing with these trials. And he advises that the use of a systemic fungicide that targets root rot pathogens as a seed dressing prior to seeding would probably be the best method to have some level of control with this issue. There is currently, however, no fungicides registered for use on flax for this purpose in Australia, and there is unlikely to be any registered products because it's a minor crop. So yeah, it'll be an unregistered use. A major problem in flax is fusarium wilt. It's the most serious disease of flax in Victoria and southern Australia, and there's also recent reports of it now into northern New South Wales. The variety of Glenelg, which is one of the varieties that we have here, is very susceptible to fusarium wilt, and it used to be grown in Victoria until wilt became such a problem. So that's the reason why it's now grown in the more northern regions, drier regions. Croxton was bred to replace Glenelg. It has a more resistant variety, so that's the predominant variety now that's grown in the southern areas of Australia. There is no treatment or control for fusarium wilt, so it's a matter of breeding more resistant diseases as well as crop rotations through your paddocks. So it's recommended that you don't plant a flax crop in the same paddock for at least 3 years between crops. Pasmo is a fungal disease caused by Mycocephalella. It is not considered a major disease in Australia. It causes an above ground disease in the flax, and it causes blotching of the stem and leaves and can affect the ripening and the yield and the seed quality. So the last outbreak of that was in New South Wales in the 1970s and 80s when there was a particularly wet spring period. Once again, none of our varieties are resistant to it, but control is through fungicides and that extended rotation period. Flax rust is also a potentially serious issue, and this will just cause orange pustules on the leaves, particularly the underside, and on the stems and in the bolls, and that reduces the yield that you can get from crops. This has not been a significant problem so far, but they think that with an increase in flax production, that this could become a significant issue here in Australia. As we were talking about just before we started, Helianthus, budworm, caterpillars, whatever you want to call them, are a really significant problem in flax crops. And we've seen that here over the last 3 weeks. They just came in mass. This particular site here is the only site that we've had that has not been affected by the Helianthus. and the other sites have all had to be sprayed to control it. It's not unusual apparently to have to spray 1 to 2 times a year, and most years you will have to spray for it, so it needs to be budgeted in if we go ahead and grow flax. Flax plants are toxic to stock, so don't graze them. So linseed cake, young crops, screening, flowers, seeds and wilted plants can all be toxic to stock. They contain prussic acid, which causes cyanide poisoning. So the toxicity is dependent on the variety and the time of year and the stage of growth, and also the method of the oil and meal production.